Good morning.
Good morning, Kate.
How are you?
I'm ready to roll today. We're going to talk about Quinnvestors. We're in a groove right now. We're going to talk about some passive income and implementation, which is the thing that we really are getting in a groove with, I would say.
Yeah, I would say we're in a groove. And I think we can go back and have a little hindsight with not always being in this mode either. Well, try and be in this mode, but it takes a while to get some traction. We're really feeling it right now. Like, we're on fire.
Yeah, it's a groove, which I think is groovy, and then it's a rut, which is ruddy. And I'd rather be in a groove.
Ruddy, is that even a word?
I don't even know, but we'll make it a word today.
Hey, the other day, today is Veterans Day.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Land of the free, home of the brave. Thank you to all our veterans. Allows us to be able to do what we do. And so here today, we're going to talk about what we do, and it's a tribute to the veterans that we're able to do that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I second that. All right, so let's launch into Quinnvestors. We had a private equity launch party locally, and we had a really pretty great turnout. This was a strategic event where we invited very specific people who we thought really wanted to hear what we were talking about. People that wanted to learn more about investing and people that also liked real estate, right? Not everyone's a real estate guy, if you will. So these were people that we really connect with.
We do, and the room was filled with a lot of inquisitive minds and some people that have been supporting us over the years and vice versa. So some reciprocity in the room too.
Yeah. And shout out to the Kebab House for the wonderful venue and amazing food.
Yeah, they did an amazing job. The whole vibe of the event, the days before setting up to get to that moment in time where everybody was just, I don't know. I think it was just the food, the vibe, the launch party, the inquisitiveness of what we were actually doing and actually seeing how we've evolved here over now 3.5, approaching 4 years.
Yeah.
And the ability to be able to have that locally for a small business and have some people from other parts of the country fly in for that, which was pretty great.
Yeah. They have the best hummus.
They do. Yeah, it was pretty good food. Family style food and a family style atmosphere. And we talked a little bit about how we're going to continue to stay in this groove.
Yeah. And so we had to share a little bit of information for the ones that were not there. We had Joel Block, our private equity mentor, come and speak, which he speaks at large venues. And for him to be able to come and attend ours was really cool.
He's a professional speaker, professional card player. We actually were very fortunate to meet him and then have him here on our show the day of the event. So he's an advantage player, as he would coin the phrase, and he thinks, sees, and acts differently. And we have subscribed to much of the principles of what to do and how to do what he's been doing now for almost 40 years.
So we mentioned previously a lot of people that are friends and family that we ran our name by, the Gutsy Moves. Gutsy Moves,
Yeah,
the
that's
podcast.
right.
What were we going to call it? Joel was the one who actually did like the name. And after learning more about his advantage play, really the difference between it being an advantage player and making gutsy moves as we determine them is really very similar. It's really almost the same thing.
It is the same thing because it's a calculated risk. You play in the spaces that you know, and if you don't know it super well, you bring others that do know it super well into that space with you. We get to share that within our M4 group, which we were actually able to host an M4 group meeting. So M4 group is the private equity think tank group that I'm part of, and we actually had an event at Views and Brews in Nashville in September.
So all of the private equity people get together and then talk about what they're doing. So what we're doing in private equity with Quinnvestors is luxury vacation rentals. But what are some of the other guys in that group doing?
Well, there's fix
or
and
gals?
flips.
I'm making
There are gals and there's guys. There's fix and flips. There's multifamily. So fix and flips is you buy the house and you fix it up and flip it and sell it. There's fix and flip with buy and hold strategies for long-term rents, where you can create a silo of long-term income to pay that out over time, much like we do with our with Quinnvestors and paying those and sharing in those profits to the investors. We have actually some venture capital folks in the M4 group as well, which is not dedicated specifically to real estate. And the cool part about it is you have them in different parts of the country, and they all get together once a month for a video call, and iron sharpens iron, as they say.
So maybe they own storage units. That's another investment strategy. Laundromats.
Wineries.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So it's an eclectic group of individuals.
No one else in your group is doing short-term rentals, though, right?
Oh, not at all. No. It's a process that we always talk about. What's the advantage play? What's the differentiator? And for us, it's Yonder Luxury Vacation Rentals. And, that relationship allows us to be able to excel in different markets. And they manage our properties, as in they manage our properties personally that we own. And they manage the properties exclusively for the fund. And so the really cool part about that is just the communication level that we have with them it's, I don't know, right hand, left hand. They know each other well, and it's not much discussion that needs to go on because it's just work the plan.
Yeah. So I think that people looking at different entrepreneurial opportunities, what businesses do they want to start? How do they start? Where do they go? What I think is interesting is what we found, and one of the main reasons that we launched Quinnvestors is there's very few people and or entities doing what we're doing, and the importance of finding the missing mark of what's not occurring in that group, whatever it may be. And if there's already 4 pizza places in a town, maybe you don't open up a 5th, because how are you going to be different and unique?
That's right.
And what's missing? Like, what does the community want? What do they need?
And that's the TSA part. Think, see, and act differently. And for us, the advantage play to getting into these markets, we're in 8 different states. And fortunately, one of those states is Arizona. We will be heading to Phoenix, the Valley, in about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
December 15th.
So maybe for the people that are listening and don't really know as much about our history, that we decided a few years ago to buy 1 luxury vacation rental a year for 10 years as part of our building wealth and retirement strategy. And as we worked our way through the goals and specifics of how we were going to do that, not just where, but how with money to leverage our incomes while we're still making a good income to be able to acquire these properties, because we want to retire someday. And so that was our plan. But I think what we realized very early on was, when sourcing these properties, there are more amazing investment opportunities than we can buy ourselves. We only have so much capital to work with, not independently wealthy, don't have a trust fund. We only have the income that we're generating from our day jobs to fund this retirement 1 a year for 10 years. And when we looked at raising capital and how do we do that, it's like for a fix and flipper to pass up on a sheriff's sale because he doesn't have the money to buy it. And it's money right in front of you that you can see, I know what to do.
Know how to turn it.
Yeah, you know how to turn it. And we know how to turn it, and hence Quinnvestors, the launch of this amazing journey that we're on.
Free your mind, grow your wealth, seize your time. Those are the things that we think about often, and that's our tagline. And so implementing that is a big deal. And as an entrepreneur, when you're thinking about ideas all the time, and I don't think that's exclusive to entrepreneurs. It's certainly not. I think what's interesting with entrepreneurs is the idea, and there's abundance of ideas that just come to you, and all the notes and the journals and the books and things that you read for bettering yourself and making that next step and implementing is really what causes that.
It's the doers.
That's the fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is. And so we want to talk about the doing part with our homes. How do we source these properties, not just for us personally, but also for the fund? So you want to talk about that?
I'm extremely analytical, as you know, and to be able to spend the time and go into the rabbit holes that I go into and learn. For example, there's an 8-page market analysis on Greater Phoenix, and that's something that took several weeks to put together. And then you model that, and once it's modeled, then you go search in the market for what you've modeled. So for example, Maricopa County is Greater Phoenix, and it's the largest county in Arizona. It's number 1 in population growth and number 2 in job growth in the entire country. So you have to have a baseline for what's your real estate going to do. Is it going to go up in value? And how are you going to be able to cash flow that? And so as you have job growth and population growth funneling into those metrics, they're number 1 and number 2 for what we seek, in addition to obviously the sun and getting into all the other metrics that cause someone to want to go stay in your home. And so that's really the key indicator for where you start and then how you make it happen as a KPI. And that's key performance indicator, and that's the income, the comparables, that who's your competition and what are they doing in that space.
Okay, let me stop you.
And what's the proximity to your home?
This is so easy for you because this is what you do and this is the process. But let me back it up for everybody who's like, blah, blah, blah. What did he just say? So when you start with this Maricopa County job growth, population growth, you're getting all of this data and then you're putting it together in a report and analyzing it. But you are doing that with your knowledge and experience in real estate and mortgage banking. And again, you're very analytical, and that's something that you can leverage with Corbett Consulting. So what if someone doesn't know even how to start that research? Can you help them?
Well, I know a guy. So
you would do that for someone else. So I don't want people to misinterpret that they might never get started because they don't know how to get through step number 1. Well, if you don't know how to get through step number 1, you can hire a guy to do that. And that would be you with Corbett Consulting. No different than us. Shout out to Dave. No, for setting all of this amazing studio up for us to be able to launch our podcast. We didn't do this on our own.
No, it's very true. And collaborating is really what we do well. It's at the core of how we function and operate. And talking a little bit about, speaking of Dave Chervenik, your income is directly correlated with the people that you surround yourself with. And having that conversation with him right here on our show continues to feed a way that we implement what we do. So who do we surround ourselves with? What do we talk about? And then how do we do it? The how. And the most important thing to understand is you have to act and think, see, act differently. That's how you are different in the market. And then that's what brings in the earnings to be able to continue to move forward.
Buying, selling, or investing. We are the creative ones. Visit us at creativeones.com.
We decided that Maricopa County and Phoenix and the greater Phoenix area was a place that we wanted to invest in for a myriad of reasons that are a checklist on paper, right? There's paper proof of this seems like a good investment, but then there's more reason to it than just it seems logical on paper. We like the sun. We like to vacation there. Yonder has presence in that marketplace, which again is the big differentiator for us. Why Phoenix?
Well, why don't you say why Phoenix? I think you have some good input in that. It's really been something we've dug into.
Well, I like the sun. I like it hot and I like the sun. People complain in Northeast Ohio in the summer when it's hot, like, oh, it's so hot. I say, I love it. I'm the one.
It's a warm hug in Phoenix. It's a different level of hot out there, though.
Yes, it is. It's the dry heat. No, it's still hot. I just love the hot. But diversity is another reason why Phoenix.
So diversification portfolio. We've got a portfolio of luxury vacation rentals that we're going to continue to build out, and we're not in Phoenix yet, so
we will
that's
be.
part of what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So, but diversity because catastrophic weather things that happen, floods and hurricanes and wildfires and all of the disasters. If you own all of your properties in one spot, you could be wiped out. But if you own properties in multiple locations and you own 20 homes in the fund, we in Quinnvestors owns 20 properties and one thing happens. And not even just weather. What if it's a a restriction regarding some type of regulation that changes.
So you have properties on the Great Lakes, Ohio and Michigan, and then it gets cold up there sometimes. And when it's July and August and the people are everywhere and your home's booked solid, it's a little different in Arizona in July and August. It's not as many people going there then.
Yeah, not as quite as desirable. So that's a key factor with Quinnvestors and our investment strategy, is that we have diversification within the portfolio.
And the draw, right? So we've talked about job growth and population growth in Maricopa County, and we've talked about implementation, actually putting your ideas to work. Mm-hmm. And one of those ideas go way back yonder and helping them expand. And part of the markets that we're in specific Greater Phoenix, Yonder was expanding to or wanted to expand to, in particular because of Steve Frelick and his baseball and him traveling into the Cactus League and the Grapefruit League and spring training terminology there. Over 50 baseball, we just had the opportunity to be at the Reds and the Guardians facility in Phoenix. I think that's in Glendale, actually, but suburb of Phoenix. A few weeks ago, got to see him play. The Salt Lake Bees, I think, is what it was.
And that makes sense for them because he and his team are traveling there for an extended period of time and playing baseball, and why not pay themselves to stay in their own house instead of paying someone else to make money, right?
100% correct. And
if they're doing it, other teams are doing it. It's no different than a vacation model. Maybe, people that go to Orlando, to Disney World, there's a draw, there's something that's happening. And that's just one of those not mainstream draws that he knows about. He's got insider information about why a good number of people are going to travel to a specific area. So we determine that. And then we hyper focus on, because Phoenix is a massive market.
It's the 5th largest market in the country.
And then how do we know where we want to buy in Phoenix? Is it a good neighborhood? What are the rents like? And talk a little bit how we learn that information.
So we did our market analysis and put together fact after fact after fact, and we built that out.
When you say market analysis, like the value of the home based on comparable homes?
So value, various locations, job growth, population growth, what are the trades that are moving into the area from a construction perspective? It's a big tech center, Taiwan Semiconductor. You've got some the Amazon and a number of different facilities that are being built specifically in that market. And so when that begins to happen, you've got all the build up to that, right? So you've got the people that are going there in advance and learning and setting the foundation for how these companies are going to exist in that market. It's a professional sports is big in Phoenix. You've got professional hockey, NHL, professional baseball, major leagues. You've got the NBA with the Phoenix Suns, and then you've got the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals. So all of those are big draws. And when you think about some of the things that go into determining a very specific neighborhood, you have all of those other things that everybody else would benefit from. And then what's your additional draw? And so what we've been drawn to in Phoenix is just north of Phoenix. There are some historical neighborhoods that are really cool. And there's a perimeter of a place called Encanto, Encanto. And Encanto has FQ Story and Palmcroft and Encanto itself. And then there's an amusement park right there.
Which we learned. And I was, while you're doing analytical information about everything you talked about, I'm on Airbnb and other booking platforms trying to see what the houses look like, what are people doing to their homes, what's the nightly rate on pricing, how much are they booked. And then I'm back to internet websites to look at homes to see how much do they cost. And as I was going through those, there was a couple of other neighborhoods that we looked at that seemed like that's where you wanted to be as an owner, where rents would probably be really high. And what I quickly found is that there was home after home after home that all looked the same. They were a similar bedroom bathroom count, and the people in Phoenix, they do it up right. Like these homes on Airbnb.
They're legit. The competition is tough.
I don't know, as I'm reflecting on this search, how do we be different? What do you do? These people have it not just laid out to look like a beautiful home. They have all of the coffees and espresso machines and putting greens and pool toys and basketball courts and
Pickleball courts.
Yeah, all of that. So what do you do to be different? And as I realized, not just were those homes in that area all very similar on Airbnb, they were all very similar on Realtor.com as far as what you can purchase, and they all looked very much the same. And I was not excited about any of it because it seemed like this was just flooded.
Yeah, how are you going to stand out?
Right. You put your computer away for the night, and then you go back at it the next day because
exactly.
It seems like there's nothing.
Hours and hours of just being in a rabbit hole.
Yes.
And you just think, oh my gosh, I got to walk away. So
yeah. So we did. And then
relate.
what we realized was when you move your map search to some other areas that we had not considered, like in Canto, I was so excited to find these older historical homes with charm and character, and zooming in on a pretty good sized neighborhood to only see 4 to 6 homes available for rent, and also beautifully done. But there's an in, because of those 6 homes, like 2 were really nice and 4 were averaged, so much so that I said, all right, like we can beat that.
It was the architecture that drew us.
Well, it started with that for sure.
Because these homes and the way that they were distinguishing themselves wasn't really the facade that we were looking for. Mm-hmm. And when we say historical, the draw to these homes, the adobe style, the Spanish style, the arches and the landscaping that goes along with that, and you still have to find that and the value add. That's the piece that's really hard, because if you're going to pay retail, you really better have something that's going to help you from an income perspective carry that additional price, or what's your value add, and then you have to be able to launch quickly. So those are the things that are the differentiators for us and how we identify these properties, because if you're going to be looking at a property that's a huge value add, ergo a fix and flip concept, that's an extremely competitive market to do that in. Mm-hmm. And the other thing to look at is we are looking for a short-term rental, a luxury vacation rental, and not as many folks are doing that. And because we are extremely in tune with what it takes to get one of those launched, we found a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, we found more than one, hence Quinnvestors. So this one is going to meet our personal goal to make our 1 a year for 10-year goal, but then we found a couple of other ones. And so these are perfect properties for the fund. This is like finding the amazing deal, and then like you have to figure out how to capture it.
It's kind of funny as you sit here and say that. I'm thinking our target closing date is January 6th. So we're going to be January 6th and we're done for 25. We've met our goal already. So we don't waste time. Ergo implementation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's wild as it's resting on my brain right now.
Yeah, but we're going to go out there and we're looking for other properties for the fund, to which we have a really great head start with from an investment and raising capital. We need to get to our threshold of $300,000 with Quinnvestors before we can start spending any money, and we're really close.
Yeah, that's our floor, right? So you have to break escrow, if you will, before you can start spending the money. And from our launch party, October 30th, at the Kebab House, we've got $150,000 that came in a subscription agreement already. And there's about another $550 to $625 that's in motion for that, which is going to put us around $700K, give or take. And I think that'll happen in the month of November. We'll probably break that before Thanksgiving. And the goal being 7 figures by January 1 is not then very far away. So that's momentum. And of the 3 things that you should really pay attention to from a private placement perspective, protect against investors' losses, number 1, maximize returns, number 2, and those seesaw, right? You have to really pay attention to that, because one monkey on one shoulder is very different from the other monkey on the other shoulder. And one of the ways, and it's probably my favorite word, momentum builds. And because of momentum, you can create diversity, and more properties in different markets allow you to avoid seasonality issues, loss like you're talking about with weather or catastrophic events, pandemic type issues. So these are all things that we have to pay attention to. And it's in our private placement, and it talks about the risk factors. So we have to be very cognizant of that.
And then once we identify a property, and we make a run at it. You get it under contract. We write an offer. It's similar to buying a home that people would be familiar with, the primary residence. You write an offer, you do some negotiations. And we had some fun negotiations with this one.
Yeah, it's been the last 4 or 5 days. We got it under contract, late Friday night?
Yes. Yeah. And
early Saturday morning.
Cool thing so around here, people don't sell things turnkey. If you watch maybe TV shows on HGTV, it's a word that it happens in other areas. Furnished. Turnkey means everything in the home, not just the furniture, but you remove your personal belongings and then everything else stays. But it's kind of a foreign term to us. We don't really use that. It doesn't really happen here.
Not as common in Northeast Ohio. That's right.
Yeah, but it's a legit thing. And so we were able to negotiate in with this sale. I'm really excited. Turnkey. So they're taking some personal belongings, and when we get to the house, what it helps us do is launch faster.
That's right. Finish your sentence, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
I know where you're going.
We make a good partner. So then we launch, and then once we have the property ready to rent, in comes Yonder.
Facilitating these ideas, we were literally communicating with them this morning from an ownership perspective, from a general manager perspective. All of that is stuff that for us, and putting that in motion, going back to what will be 24 months, January of 23, we talked about getting into different markets, and we launched with Yonder July of last year. So this would have been July of 23. To date, there's 25 properties in Phoenix, and in July of 23, there were 0. Mm-hmm. So you're just talking about building momentum and how to do that, and Yonder being the differentiator. And I think they kind of look at us as the differentiator to help them get to certain places and do certain things from a monetary perspective, access to capital, implementing these ideas. It's not an easy thing to do, but we certainly collaborate with them rather well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so Yonder gets to come in and launch the property, and they put it on all of the booking platforms and Airbnb and make their tweaks to it to make sure that the guest experience at a luxury vacation rental is top notch. So these properties, when you check in, man, it's kick-ass.
It is kick-ass. It's actually, we have a cleaning guarantee with Quinnvestors through our partners, Clean City, out of the Queen City of Charlotte. And in addition to all of those things, probably one of the things that I'm not going to use the word probably. I'm going to say the thing that I'm most proud of related to Quinnvestors is the collaborative efforts that over 33 months we brought people together. And on page 17 of our executive overview, and I talked about this October 30th, we built a conglomerate in 33 months. We've got north of 20 companies and north of 120 people head count that once we land a property, we've got furniture logistics, accounting, a full-on ad agency, a property management company with direct ties to Ritz-Carlton family of properties and ways that they treat guests.
I'm going to call that list, we know a guy.
We do know a guy, yeah. And I think the thing for everybody listening is I've not met a person that doesn't know a guy. But when you know a guy and you then know a guy and know a guy and know a guy and you can scale that.
There's lots of people that don't know a guy. They call us.
That's true.
Do you know a guy for this thing, for that thing? No, you're underestimating that network of who you know and how you put them in a good plot, a good place.
I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
A distinctive approach to passive income with luxury vacation rentals.
For more information, check out our website, Quinnvestors.com.
So tell me, the guest experience, and Yonder's obviously a differentiator. That's property management. So there's short-term rental property management where you have the guest experience, the host, which is a lot more involved. It's essentially a hotel, and people need stuff all the time.
They do, compared to long-term rental management, where someone is renting month to month or they have a year lease, and the big job is getting them in, right? Qualifying them, taking the application, reviewing the rents. But once they're placed, that long-term tenant pays for their utilities, and frequently they maintain their own lawn, and they pay their rent, hopefully, on time every month. And it's just your job to receive that, managing the property. It's a lot less intense. Although the long-term tenants do still need things from time to time, but it's not a daily thing compared to short-term rentals and short-term rental management of what do you have to do. And there's a common misconception that Airbnb, Vrbo, and other booking platforms are actual management, and they're not.
It's amazing how many times that we hear,
oh, I'll just use Airbnb.
exactly. It's absolutely blows my mind and that's an OTA, an online travel agency. It's a booking platform, and it's misinterpreted to be property management. And it's a huge mistake that people make. So they go into it, they buy it, and then they want to get it onto the platform. And then what's next? And they're literally to that point, and they realize that it still blows my mind. I can't even imagine people get to that point.
Well, so let's help with some actual dollars and money behind what that means. So this is a question I get a lot. What does something like that cost, and why wouldn't I just do it myself? I recently had a meeting with someone interested in getting into real estate investing, and some other people are telling her, oh, don't hire management. That's a waste of money. Do it yourself. And so if you want to hire management for a long-term tenant, it's about 10% is the cost.
8 to 12%. Yeah, sure. That's fair.
And what that person does is they place your tenant, they collect the rent, and they're the emergency contact when the toilet overflows. And it's minimal. It's really important, but it's minimal compared to short-term rent. So around 10%. So if the rent is $1,000 a month, the rental management company is going to keep $100, correct?
That's true.
Okay. And then short-term rental management is a different cost, which would range from more like
that's about 17 to 25%.
17 to 25% of the rent. So you can use the same math, but in short-term rentals, you would take a nightly rate to multiply the total amount. Think like you're staying in a hotel, and then whatever that amount is for your stay, then it's a percentage that the management company takes from that.
Yeah. So if you're going to stay in a luxury vacation rental, that's $1,000 a night, and you're going to stay for 4 nights, that's $4,000. The gross rent is $4,000, but what you're going to make is $3,000.
Why don't I just do that myself, Brandon? Why would I want to pay for that? I mean, booking after booking, it adds up to be a good amount of money. I'll just manage it myself.
Passive income. Let's see. How many times do I hear those two words, passive income? And it's a concept, and there's a lot of searching that goes on with passive income.
And what is that? Truly passive?
Sure. So there's the IRS definition, and there's some accounting principles involved. You don't pay payroll tax, et cetera, and amongst other things that you can discuss related to passive income. So that's the tax planning and the accounting side of things. And then there's the actual property management side of things, which is the mortgage and real estate planning side of the quadrant. And that's extremely difficult to do. When you are hosting people and you have to deal with other family members wanting to know certain things, and it's a group, and typically in luxury vacation rentals, it's a large group, you need to have your stuff in order to provide the experience that those individuals and that group is expecting, ergo the luxury vacation experience. And again, Yonder being a differentiator, shout out to Tracy and the guest experience team.
They have a whole division called the guest experience team that is solely focused on literally the experience. And one thing that's different with their management style and maybe even another company and or certainly doing it yourself, this would be standard, right? So someone goes to the house, they stay in the home, and then when they leave, the cleaning company comes in. Even if you're managing it yourself, typically cleaning is hired help. And the cleaners come in and they do their job. And I'll tell you that from experience, frequently the cleaners are the last people in the house. And the owner is trusting that the cleaners followed the instructions and didn't miss anything. And they're human, and they miss things from time to time or forget to restock something.
That's right.
And if you're managing it yourself, when the guest gets there and realizes that the cleaner forgot to restock the toilet paper, guess who's getting the call? You, the owner. And guess who's leaving whatever it is they're doing for the day? Maybe you're on a field trip with your first grader. But no, now you need to go take toilet paper to your home. But if that were professionally managed, not only would you never get that call, specifically with Yonder being the differentiator, They send a representative to the house after the cleaners leave
Well, pre-check and post-check.
to make sure and ensure not just that they're doing their job, but was there a light bulb that needed to be changed? Did the leaves get blown off of the decks? Like, is it truly rent ready?
Well, and those are all things that are property related and getting into the nuances of the expectations that you would almost expect there would be. And the differentiator is the beer in the fridge? Is the water where it's supposed to be? What about the coffee or the espressos and the things that drive that experience, the bikes, the scooters, all the things that the golf carts, these extra add-ons that are going to drive your revenue that people are expecting. And these are not free things. These are things that they choose as the guest, what they want to participate with.
Sure.
And then ultimately pay for.
So because you walk into any kind of place that you're staying as a guest. I mean, I get excited when there's, even in the hotel rooms, like there's extra coffee. I was like, oh, wow, okay, cool, we're set for in the morning. And when there's not, I'm disappointed. I'm like, oh, gosh, we didn't get coffee in this hotel room. And so elevating that guest experience is just huge. And then paying management to do it, in our opinion, is worth every penny to be able to leverage time. And that's how you truly scale. Because the more things that you try and hold on to control, the fewer things you can do.
Well, time freedom is financial freedom. And the sooner you learn to let go, and it seems almost counterintuitive, but it's how it works.
Because people think, I can make more money if I do it myself. But actually you'll make less money because you can do fewer of them. So we recommend hiring professional management, which is available for long-term rentals and for short-term rentals. And that's one of the ways that we scale. And when people ask how we're doing what we're doing, that's one way.
You have to pay attention to your data. You have to know how much money you're going to make. You have to have a key performance indicator to show from a comparable perspective how much income you're going to have gross. And then you have to make your move based on that data set into where you're going to buy, which is all the nuances that we just talked about. And drill down on, okay, I'm in. This is the property that I'm going to buy. This is the income that I'm going to expect. These are the expenses that I should expect. And at the end of the day, your net operating income needs to float.
And then you grind through it. But to me, truly passive income is mailbox money.
Jimmy Buffett, cue the song.
For sure. But the term passive income is, I think, misinterpreted because people are talking about passive income, but they are still having to focus and or work on something, which therefore makes it not passive.
Very true. It's a grind. And if you know what you're doing and you're passionate about it and you want to grow it yourself, that's one thing. The other thing is a lot of people just don't have, and when I say a lot, most just don't have the awareness, the time, the interest to put together the things we put together, ergo the fund, Quinnvestors.
Right. So we can help with the investment portfolio with Quinnvestors, and or we can help you leverage to accomplish that truly passive income with time freedom.
Free your mind, grow your wealth, seize your time.